Hey everyone, welcome back to the Successful Lead Generating Coaches Show. This is Arfan, and today we're talking about measuring the true ROI of your Facebook ads. And this is something that's absolutely crucial for any coach, any course creator, any business that wants to be able to continually grow and scale, especially if you want to be able to scale confidently. And this is just not for those who are going to be dabbling in ads. Dabbling is like, hey, I got my business going. I'm starting to do like regular trainings or put out stuff that's like showing me as an authority, not just content like posting and blogs, but actually like putting out stuff like join me for a live training. Things where you're inviting people, so you're showing that you're an expert at a really really high level. And you're looking to start like, okay, I need to get enough leads, right? Because again, you can push organically, and you should be getting some results organically before going in ads, of course. But you're really like, okay, I'm not trying to dabble. I'm not trying to spend like 100 or so. I'm not trying to like see if my messaging is okay or not. I know my messaging is gonna crash my messaging. I've worked on my elevator pitch. I've done the whole thing. I'm doing it. I'm making good money in the business, and you're ready to invest now into growing it more, and you have a marketing budget. This is where now, in order to know if it's working, you got to be able to track the true ROI of your Facebook ad. And some of our top clients, the ones that have been with us for years, this is the thing that keeps us to run ads, is because we know exactly what ROI is coming from ads within 7 days, 30 days, 2, 3, and 6 months. I don't go too crazy after that, but we like to be able to track up to 12 months if we can. Of course, we start working with our clients, so it depends on the promotion cycles, things like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you have questions about this topic, as far as like how do you measure your true ROI, or even if you have a perspective of how you look at it, I look at it from a number of different ways, but shoot me a message that replies to the email, or send me an email at arfon@growautomatescale.com, and let me know what your thoughts are, or how, what your experience has been with trying to figure out the true return on investment of your Facebook ads, okay? Because I definitely want to hear your point of view, okay? So let me talk about why measuring ROI is essential for coaches and business owners in general. Man, if you're trying to grow a business, you gotta be able to measure this, right? So typically, like when you're first starting, you're relying on stuff that's not super trackable: organic traffic, networking, word of mouth, and there's an evolution that the businesses go through when they first start off, when they're a startup, to when they're growing and scaling. And as they start off and you're relying on organic stuff, the networking, the word of mouth, as you grow, paid ads become a powerful lever for scaling, but only if you're using them effectively, or even more so if you're measuring them correctly. So a lot of people sometimes, and a lot of agencies do this too as well, when they have no idea if they're getting good results for their ads or not, for their client or not, or someone who's just a freelance ads manager on, like, they're just getting started. They know how to set up ads and things like that, but they're not familiar with strategy. They'll look at like vanity metrics, like clicks and likes, rather than like looking at conversion rates. And what we're talking about right now is revenue. We're looking at real revenue. Like, hey, I put 3, 4, 5K in ads in January. What did I make from that? How many leads did I get? What's my average EPL? How much do I on average earn per lead in the course of my business over 12 months? And if I earn $12 a lead and I generated 1,000 leads, right? So I know, because I have my metrics, that's going to translate into about 12K in revenue when I do my promotions and my launches and things like that, because we got these metrics figured out. So we're not looking at vanity stuff, we're looking at real revenue numbers. Okay, so ROI is ultimately about how many clients you book and how much revenue you generate, not just your cost per lead or your impressions or your clicks and your likes, right? We know that. Okay, so if you're focused on, let's say, filling up a group coaching program, or if you got a course, or you're trying to sell high ticket offers, right? You typically will be calculating ROI a little differently, because, so for example, there's immediate sale versus like long-term nurture, and typically for like a course we can often go into like immediate sale, right? Especially if you're thinking of like a low mid ticket course, something that's under $1,000. This is like an immediate sale thing. So the way you're going to measure your ROI on that is going to be a little different than how you're going to do it for a high ticket offer where your one-on-one is like, let's say it's a 10K one-on-one offer. That may require a lot more nurturing than you'd be able to do just if someone signs up for like a free free guide on like the 10 mistakes they're making on a sales call. They may not go from that into a high ticket, but they may go from that into like a course, into like a low ticket membership, and then a high ticket. But so, and you also got to look at how you're going to measure that. Okay, so looking at what are my offers and how do I need to look at them, because you ideally, if your business is fully fleshed out, you're probably going to have a combination of low, mid, and high ticket offers. So you're going to be able to convert a client immediately and also without long-term nurture. So this is now where you want to get into tracking, okay? Because if you know it's going to take you, or someone's going to be in your membership for about 3 to 4 months before they go into a high ticket, and they're paying $37 a month on the membership. It's good to have your finger on the pulse of like, what are my leads doing, so I can know how my ROI is going to be. Because if you knew that someone's going to join your membership and then pay you one-on-one about 10 to 15 to 20K for your one-on-one, and 6 months later, you'd be getting as much people as possible to go into that, right? But a lot of us know this because we're tracking it, so we know that a certain percentage of people who take me up on some of my low ticket offers are going to eventually also become a client, right? So just a little bit of a numbers game that you want to look at, and also be able to start tagging your leads to know what's happening, and also be in communication with the people who are running your ads. Because when you're managing someone who's only managing ads, if they're only in the Facebook Ads Manager, all they're going to see is a statistical modeling, not a true actual one-for-one conversion. They're going to see a modeling data of what's happening in about 7 days after a lead joins. So on the 8th day, that lead no longer is being tracked on Facebook. So your ads person, they're totally blind. So you got to work together to also know like what's happening on the back end, so they can know like, hey, are people converting? If you're running a lead magnet and you eventually are getting calls booked or so, you have to be able to communicate that and also be able to track that. Because if you starting to work with someone, or you have a new hire that you're training them on, as time goes on, immediately you're not going to see these things, but these things are going to start compounding as long as your marketing is effective. And you want to start being able to track it, so that way you can see what the true ROI is. Now, I like to be able to have things in a certain way where when we're working together, if it's possible, within 7 to 30 days, we're at least at a basic level breaking even on the ad spend from the lead generation. So essentially, like, you're just building up your leads almost at no cost to you, and then your profits are coming from like the big conversion events. Like if you're doing like a monthly training, a webinar, or challenge, or a masterclass, or something like that you're converting people into a high ticket program, that's where it comes. So like a lead magnet with a low ticket, a self-liquidating funnel attached to it. Ideally, that's one of like the best funnels that works for a lot of coaches, because that pressure of putting in a bunch of ad spend before you can get an ROI, because a lot of us go through that cycle. I'm not going to be launching a group program until April. So in between now and then, either you work with me one-on-one, or I have really no other way to work with you, and maybe I don't even have any one-on-ones available. So that means I'm putting out X dollars into advertising for a team member plus advertising cost that I'm not going to be getting ROI back, because no one's going to be getting an offer until I launch in April. Okay, so you want to be able to see what these cycles are, to know that, hey, am I calculating my ROI effectively? Am I looking at what's my return on investment and ad spend, 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, 12 months, so you get a really good finger on the pulse, and be able to also identify bottlenecks in your nurturing, because if you're bringing in leads into your world, then they're not converting into your other programs or offer. There's an issue with nurturing, and really getting someone in the mindset of, hey, I need to work with you or to help me out, whether it's low ticket or high ticket, so really be able to look and analyze it there. Okay, and this is for all budgets, whether you're just going at it at a dabbling level where it's like very low, $5-10 here and there, 100 $200 here and there, or if you're consistent, like, hey, every single month I'm going to be putting in 2, 3, 4, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, however much your budget is, you're putting in every month, right, to be able to know what's going to be coming. Okay, so kind of alluded to, a big part of this is really just understanding the customer journey across multiple touch points, because, and then this is also something that's going to happen over weeks and months. Okay, so a lot of times, I always say, your best return on ad spend is going to be typically when you do a launch, is because we're able to really go through a launch cycle and debrief afterwards, and be able to get a really good finger in our pulse as far as like, hey, how did our leads convert, where are things going on? And when we do multiple cycles, we're able to also, and if you're leveraging your systems appropriately and having the proper tags and things like that in place, you could also use third-party tracking software like Hyros or Triple Whale or Segmetrics, Google Analytics, things like that, to help track additionally outside of just your own CRM systems. But I'm a big fan of just having the proper tags in place, so you can do a filter of like, let's say you have like a guide, free guide, FB ads, that's a tag, and you can see, a lot of our clients use Kajabi, and we're able to filter free tag. We're able to filter the contact by who has this tag and who also has a value greater than 0 over the past 90 days or over the past year. So we can see, hey, okay, we've been running this free lead magnet for the past 6 months, and we have maybe 2 or 3% as audience who've actually purchased our high ticket group coaching program. Okay, then we can look and see when did they sign up and when they actually join, and hey, it takes about 2 to 3 months before they actually join the program, and that's due to us launching during that time, not even due to them. They want the solution, so we can look and we can make some good decisions based off of like, what is my customer journey doing, and then we can also plan it out better, knowing that if I crank up ad spend in this time, when I make my offer in January, I'm going to have a lot more people sign up for it. So if I want to have a bigger group coaching program at the beginning of the year and a smaller group coaching program at the end of the year, I can adjust my ad spend to really cater to that, because I know what my customer journey is looking like, and we're tracking the ROI on the back end. So one of the other thing is that the technical aspect of the customer journey is the reality of like the modern attribution. So like I mentioned, Facebook tracking is already at 7 days. That's like the max they're really going to get. In addition to that, a lot of apps, you probably notice if you're on iOS, when you first open up an app, it asks you if you're going to allow this app to track or not. So that also hinders the tracking ability of the functions of these platforms. So the monetization is really taking a big hit. So really, does someone like click an ad and buy right away? Like, click right now and buy right away. It's not super common. They might see a Facebook ad, then they might be researching about this topic. They might watch a YouTube video on a topic. They're going to read an email from somebody else. they're gonna see somebody else's ad, then they're gonna see your ad again, and that's when they buy. That's like the reality of what it looks like. On the back end, it looks like we got a click and we got a sale, but the reality is that they've gone around a few cycles. So it's good to have something also that has multiple touch points, especially. So for example, let's say the first entry in your business is a membership. To have multiple touch points for that person to get offered this membership as soon as they enter into your world and as soon as they're starting a nurture, because it's a low ticket way for you to be able to start helping them, and then you can also take them across that journey into the next point, right? So this can look like email sequences. So you're giving the prospect multiple emails after they come into your list, and you're really crafting an experience for them of what's going to happen the first 7 to 30 days of when they come into your world. Very, very important if you want to especially see ROI from your leads. You could also do retargeting ads. It's very common, especially if you have a library of low ticket items or offers that are just really, really niche down and work really great for conversions. You can as soon as the lead signs up, you can set up retargeting ads so that way they can see your content, and they can either book a call or sign up for maybe you have a more like a second layer of training that you want to take them on, like a pre-recorded webinar or something. You can really the strategy for this really depends on the level of awareness of your ideal client and how you really want to convert them, because we're looking at this from we're taking a super bird's eye view, going in the plane and going 30,000 feet in the air and looking at this from not just what's happening right now, but hey, what's going to be going on 3, 6, 12 months later, because we're thinking of what's that journey going to be, and how am I really going to if this lead cost me $3, but I'm also retargeting them along the way, and then what is that earning per lead, and how can I make my earnings per lead higher, because then that's going to give you more profitability and more ability to increase your lead generation, which means more impact, more people we're helping. We're doing a lot of good in the world, right? That's at least that's what my experience has been for the clients we work with, our coaches. And then the other thing is just when someone comes in the world, just the organic stuff you're putting out there, your videos, your blogs, podcasts, all the different things that we have that we're going to be putting out there. So really mapping out that customer journey, and then looking at what are these conversion points that I have in there, and how long is it from when they sign up. So if I'm running an ad on January 1st, someone signs up, what is the time frame between I'm even giving them an offer? And if that's 8, 10, 30 days later, then you also got to say, okay, I'm not going to be able to measure my return on ad spend until at least 30 days later, and then maybe I'm looking at breaking even or not, right? Because we're really not giving much offer. We're really just in a nurturing phase, okay? The next thing I wanted to talk about here is really just best practices for tracking conversions and making sure that you're using some of the right tools. Now, I don't have any specific recommendation for third-party tracking for you to use. It's really just they all work one way or another. They all have different varying levels of cost. So if I recommend Hyros, that might be too much for someone, and where they might need to do something different. So one thing we can do is, first off, tracking is important. I think we can all raise our hand and say yes, so I don't should dive too much into that. But the basic level, you want to have your Facebook pixel in as much places as you possibly can have it, and make sure that you have all the events as much as possible. What I mean by this is your Facebook pixel, if a lead can come into your world, they can book a call. You want to have your Facebook pixel on your calendar services so you know calls are being booked, and you kind of get an idea of where your leads are going, or at least Facebook can know where your leads are going when they fill out a form. If that form was for completing an appointment or whatever it's going to be, you want to have the tracking events on those thank you pages, so that way you can say appointment scheduled, or a purchase was made, or a lead was made, or something like that. You want to have that in as much places as you possibly can have it, and make sure anytime you build a new funnel that you have the Facebook pixel set up and installed, because if you're going to be running ads, you want to get as much data as possible, and that's how you maximize your ROI. I've seen that numerous times. The more data we can track, the more places we have, the more we're able to even pinpoint back to our advertising what has converted. So, you want to make sure the Facebook pixel is all over, as much place as possible. Next thing is Google Analytics. Now, I'm not a Google Analytics expert. I have team members that kind of like more or less help me out with that. I just like to see the data as far as like what are my conversion rates, what's the journey looking like. But you can also set up specific goals for tracking actions, such as like booking a discovery call or a purchase, especially once the lead goes off of Facebook and they start going into other platforms and emails and things like that. You can also get a picture of it, and you can also put on UTM parameters to your ads, so you can also be able to tie back like, hey, I had a discovery call that happened off of this ad here. Now, I'll give you one caveat. Sometimes analytics can be crazy. And you can kind of, if you're like me, you can go into it pretty hardcore and just kind of spend a bunch of time looking and looking and looking. So make sure whenever you're looking at this, you kind of say, okay, what are the high level things that I need to know for me to make the decisions I need to make? And those are typically like, how many leads did I get? What was my cost per lead? Was my earnings per lead? Out of the leads I generated, how many booked the discovery call? Right, what was that percentage? And then how many actually converted into clients? Typically, anything outside beyond that is typically where, unless you're managing ads, you want to know your click-through rates and more of the nitty-gritty stuff. So, other helpful tools for managing. So I mentioned like your platform. So I mentioned Kajabi. But if you're also using, let's say, Active Campaign or ConvertKit or Keep or MailerLite or any of the different email platforms available, they all have some sort of way to organize your leads, whether they call it segments or groups or subscriber lists, whatever name they call, is a way for you to basically add some sort of tag or some sort of descriptor, so you could know that this person signed up and they came from an ad. And then you have attribution software like Hyros and Triple Whale, Segmetrics and things like that. These are more advanced solutions. They can be a little bit more costly, but the thing is, the attrition on these, so the length of tracking is a lot greater. So they go beyond the 7 days. Hyros is lifetime, so they can track the lead for the life of that lead. I believe Triple Whale does the same thing, Segmetrics, and you can also do the same for Google Analytics too as well. It's just a little bit more techy to get done. So those are some things to track. And tracking is super important. I'm a big fan of just like setting it up in your system also. So like whenever you're doing lead generation, there's one that's going to, especially if you're very, very active in promoting your stuff organically, you have one that goes organic and one that goes to the paid. And there's a separate form, so that when someone signs up for your paid ads, they get tagged. You can know, and you can basically be able to track and see like, what are my leads doing over over the 30 days, the 3 months, the 6 months, 12 months, so you can really get a better idea of if your ads are producing an ROI, if it's worth it for you and your team. If it's just a break even, then it's just like, hey, we're just kind of breaking even. It's kind of coasting. It may be costing you more to run it with all the other costs associated with your business, so you can make a better decision if you've made it work for you or not. But the last thing I want to talk about is just really setting like realistic KPIs and benchmark, because again, if we're looking at tracking the true ROI, we need to look at that time frame. So a couple of key metrics that I recommend, I kind of said this a little bit earlier too as well. So your cost per lead, how much do you spend to get someone to sign up for an email sign up or like for a webinar? And those may be different. If you have a free guide, the cost may be different for that versus a webinar. What does it cost you to get someone to book a call? What does it cost you to acquire a paying client? And then what is that earnings per lead? So what is that? How much revenue do you earn per lead, based off of just like a macro level of, let's say I generated a thousand leads and I generated 1,000 sales. My earnings per lead was $1, right? That's just a very, very poor math way of just explaining how we're really looking at that. So the cool thing is that once you start looking at this, you start like owning your own data, and you can start looking, okay, how do I make my data better than industry benchmarks? How do I make my data profitable for me? Because if you're lead generating, you're getting lots of leads, you're getting people to show up to your webinars, but your webinars aren't converting, your ads are doing fantastic. You gotta really look at your webinar and improve that, because making an improvement to be able to sell on that alone will drastically change the trajectory of the business. Okay, so then we look at ROI, so return on investment. So this is the overall. This is like what you're paying for your ad spend, your team members, to get the graphics created, everything like that. Then you have your return on ad spend. So this is just specifically measuring the ad spend itself and how much revenue you're generating compared to the ad spend. So sometimes, if you get a ROAS of 1, that means you're break even. You spent 1,000 in ads and you made $1,000, but you're at a net negative because your ROI. Because again, you're still paying overhead, team members, things like that. So you could be able to set a KPI that your minimum return on ad spend over 60 days needs to be 2.5. Otherwise, you're losing too much money or something like that. Over 90 days, the return on ad spend needs to be 5x. Sometimes you can have realistic KPIs versus like, I need to make a 10x ROAS every single time. It's like, well, how do you really? It's not going to be the most realistic benchmark, especially since every offer is different. A low ticket offer is different than a high ticket offer, and of course, on a high ticket offer, the ROAS might be way higher because again, but a 10K program, 10 people per 100K in sales, and that's going to give you a different ROAS versus if you had 10 people join a membership and you just generated $1,000 and $1,000 ad spend. Month 1 you broke even, but as those members stay, you'll make more. Okay, so set those realistic KPIs. So I'm hoping this has been helpful to you. It's really one of those things where tracking ROI can be a tough thing, and it's gotten harder and harder over the years, which is why a lot of people have been pulling from ads, because they can't really see, it's like, hey, can you clearly show me how these ads have performed and what my ROI was? And it's like if you just had like a one sheet PDF that was a lead magnet, well, there's probably not going to be an ROI. If there's no offer until 30 days later, there's an ROI. So really have to really just sit down and look at it from a really big macro level. And I love doing this because this is what like separates you from really being a business that starts scaling in a very methodical way versus one that's really just like you keep hammering organically and you may get traction, but maybe just like an uphill battle, so to say, because you can really go into it's like low hanging fruit, I think, because Facebook ads such a you can learn yourself, number one. You can get into it at a low pace, and then you can scale it up as you start getting results. And you may lose on 2 or 3 or 4 campaigns you run on your own, but then you hit it on like the 5th campaign, and you get a good return. And you're looking at it like, well, that more than made up for all my losses. Just like you see those who have had, like some of our clients have had 300K launches and, multiple 6-figure launches. That is 8x, 9x, 10x the return on ad spend. So the early phases of lead generation where they were testing and learning and going through, more than made up for it. So sometimes you also got to push through some of those things, and that's a common pitfall, is kind of looking and saying that if I don't get a return off the bat right away, that this doesn't work. If I'm not seeing these amazing results right away, and sometimes people, they kind of overly go into it where it's like, hey, ads work, everyone gets good results, and they kind of overcommit and they do this huge budget, and then they come out at a big loss, and it's disappointing, and then they're totally crushed. So sit down and look at your ROI. How am I going to calculate it based on my business right now? If a lead was to sign up, when is it that I can say, okay, I can realistically say that I can track an ROI? Is it 30 days after? Is it 2 months? Is it 7 days? Do you have a same day break even funnel, like something with a low ticket self liquidating offer funnel, things like that? Okay, so hope this has been helpful to you. Don't forget to share this with someone. Subscribe to the channel. Leave us a review. That's always been helpful. I've been hearing from a few people that have been listening to episodes and taking notes, and others have like there was like it's demystifying so much of what they thought of how ads were supposed to be run, and others who've been getting success with ads when they haven't before, just because they're learning the principles, not just blanket setting something up or boosting a post, but actually thoughtfully advertising to their webinars or trainings, their lead magnets with the self-liquidating offers, and they're seeing results. Yeah, I love doing these episodes, so I'd love to hear from you, or see if you wouldn't mind reviewing the show, subscribing to us on YouTube, and if you ever need support, we're always here for you, me and my team. So book a free call, rfluency.com/start, and give us an opportunity to see if we can be a good fit to work together, whether it's helping you to learn ads on your own, where we teach you what we know, what's been working for us and our clients, or it's you want to hand it off, like you're like, hey, I want to put in a team that knows what they're doing, that can help us to scale and get better results. Let's set up a time to chat. It's rfluency.com/start, and we can chat and see if it's a good fit, or I can at least look at your what you got going on and say if you're ready for ads, or if you might have to get some other things in place, whichever's going to be totally free call, no obligation, so it's available there for you. And again, thank you so much for tuning in today. I will catch you on the next episode. Bye bye.